Welcome back, my friend. I'm just tickled pink to see you again. In this second episode of
Torah Boss,
I will be breaking up the narrative of the Parsha into 7 sections, as is done during the public Torah readings on Shabbos morning. Each section is called an aliyah, and each aliyah will be indicated here on the screen. Shall we begin now? I'll just wait until you're ready. Enough. Let's begin. Forced to run away from his murderous brother Esav, Yaakov left his home in Beersheba to live with his uncle Lavan in the city of Haran. On the way, he took a short detour and spent 14 years studying under the ancient sage Aver to prepare himself for his stay with his twisted uncle. During his study, his discipline forbade him from lying down at night to sleep, and so for the first time in 14 years he laid down to rest at night and convulsed into prophecy. The Almighty promised him land, descendants, blessing, and protection. Yaakov envisioned the angels that had accompanied him during his life in what would one day be known as the land of Israel. He saw them ascend to heaven, and new angels descended to accompany and protect him on his journey outside the Holy Land. When he awoke, he recognized that the place where he slept was truly special. In fact, it was none other than the mountain of Moriah, the future site of the temple in Jerusalem. Yaakov promised God in return that everything he has, he will dedicate 1/10 of it to the Almighty and charitable causes. This custom was adopted by his descendants, and to this day it is appropriate for Jews to donate 1/10 of our earnings to worthy causes, like feeding the poor, help pay for wedding costs for underprivileged families, donating to non-profit organizations that teach Torah. As Yaakov entered Haran, he was ambushed by his nephew Eliphaz, who had been ordered by Esav to kill Yaakov. Yaakov convinced Eliphaz to take his money instead, arguing that a man without means is as good as dead. Yaakov encountered shepherds who introduced him to Lavan's daughter, Rachel. In a display of supernatural strength, Yaakov rolled an enormous stone off the well in order to water her sheep. He saw prophetically that they were destined to be together, but also that they would be buried separately, and so he kissed her, but then he cried. Upon hearing that Yaakov had arrived, Lavan brought him to the house and put him to work right away, only beginning to pay him after 1 month. Yaakov was drawn to Rachel and offered to work for 7 years for her hand in marriage. His love for her was so strong that 7 years seemed a small price to pay for something so valuable, and so the time passed quickly for him. On the wedding night, Yaakov was tricked and married Rachel's older sister Leah instead. Knowing now that he was destined to marry both sisters, he waited another week, married Rachel, and worked another 7 years on her behalf. Leah then gave birth to 4 children in succession: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Rachel became jealous of her older sister's childbearing and demanded children from Yaakov, who answered,
"Who do you think I am, God?"
So she offered her maid Bilhah to Yaakov, who gave birth to Dan and Naphtali. Leah then did the same, giving her maid Zilpah, who gave birth to Gad and Asher, bringing the total of Yaakov's sons to 8. The firstborn, Reuven, came back from the fields with a gift for his mother Leah, a mysterious plant called dudaim. Some suggest it had powers of fertility, and Rachel, who was still barren, requested some of them from her sister in exchange for giving up her night with Yaakov. Leah conceived that night and later gave birth to Yisachar, and then again to Zevulun, and then again to a daughter named Dinah. Finally, Rachel was rewarded by God for her devotion to her sister. She conceived and gave birth to Yosef. This was the moment Yaakov was waiting for. Yosef, the son of Rachel, was endowed with the spiritual powers that Yaakov needed to defeat his brother and nemesis, Esav. Now that it had come to fruition, he informed Lavan that it was time to leave and go to confront Esav. Before leaving, Yaakov and Lavan worked out one last term of employment. Yaakov suggested an agreement that was severely to his own disadvantage, and on top of that, during the employment, Lavan unilaterally changed the terms of the agreement some 100 times, all to the disadvantage of Yaakov. Nevertheless, with divine intervention, Yaakov came out on top, amassing a tremendous amount of wealth, financially crippling Lavan in the process. Do you think Lavan was happy? No, Lavan was not happy. God told Yaakov,
It's time to go.
And Yaakov related that message to his wives, who, sick of their selfish and demented father, readily consented. Yaakov pulled one last trick and stole away with his children and wives while Lavan was busy tending to his remaining sheep. Before leaving, Rachel stole her father's tools of sorcery in a last attempt to protect Lavan's soul by preventing him from using them. Lavan was incensed and caught up to them 3 days later on Mount Gilad. Despite a prophetic warning from the Almighty, Lavan confronted Yaakov for his sneaky departure and the theft of his idolatrous tools. Yaakov, ignorant that his own wife had committed the theft, defended his innocence and cursed the perpetrator, unknowingly dooming Rachel to an early death. After Lavan searched Yaakov's belongings, finding nothing, Yaakov finally fired back at Lavan, exposing him for the liar and dishonest thief that he is. Lavan responded by arrogantly proposing a treaty between the two of them, demanding that Yaakov not mistreat his daughters and promising peace. They made a feast for the night, and the following morning Lavan blessed his daughters and grandchildren and returned home. Yaakov took his family and servants and embarked on a new journey. The saga of Lavan was complete, and now Yaakov found himself faced with 2 camps of angels, ready to accompany him to face his true final foe, Esav.
Haftorah time!
Haftorah time.
The ultimate leader of Leah's sons was the tribe of Yehuda, and of Rachel's sons, Yosef, specifically the tribe of Ephraim, son of Yosef. Yehuda and Ephraim are often juxtaposed, representing the intended relationship between Yaakov and Esav. In the haftorah, the prophet Hosea rebukes Ephraim, the tribe which is responsible for protecting our spiritual alignment while in exile. Although the sins of Ephraim are great and terrible, the prophet calls the Jewish people to return to the path. As the Almighty promised Yaakov that he will never abandon him, we will never be truly lost. Your connection to God may be dulled, but it is never severed. It is up to you, descendant of Yaakov, to restore that connection. It is up to us as a nation to reveal the presence of God even in the darkest corners of exile.